We're here today representing First Priority. They are sponsoring this program today. They meet every Friday morning at 7:30 in the library. So if you would like to meet with them, that's your day and time. Friday morning, 7:30 in the library. We also represent Camp Nathaniel. It's a fun place. If you've never been there before, you're cheating yourself out of a fun week of camp. My wife and I, we went there one time. We stayed almost 29 years. We love it there. If you come to camp in the summer for a week of camp, we have horseback riding. Even if you've never ridden a horse, we teach that. We teach horsemanship at Camp Nathaniel. We have archery and riflery and mountain boarding and tomahawk throwing. We have rocket making. We have a really fast water slide. We have a big swimming pool. It's bigger than your volleyball court. Okay, it's not quite as big as the basketball court, but it's bigger than the volleyball court. It's 10 feet deep on one end, has 2 diving boards. We have a huge climbing tower, about as tall as this ceiling here. You can climb straight up the outside of that and then rappel off of it like an Army Ranger. We have a big gymnasium. It has 6 basketball goals in it. We play a lot of basketball at Camp Nathaniel. We have a swinging bridge, a lot of fun things, and you can go there, okay? So if you're interested in knowing more about Camp Nathaniel, we're located over in Knott County, K-N-O-T-T, between Hyman and Hazard, but you can visit us on the internet. Go to our Facebook page, okay? Camp Nathaniel Facebook page. Like us first, if you would, please. And then you can message us. Say, my name is so-and-so. Here's my phone number. I want to go to camp. Somebody will get back with you on that. That's your way. That's your link to everything Camp Nathaniel. We also have a website, too, campnathaniel.org. We're going to have an overnight breakaway in the spring just for high school students. We're going to have a whole week of camp for you in the summer. And teachers, we haven't forgot about you either. Teachers, we even have a family week of camp. We have entire families that come the week of July the 4th, and you can come and bring your family, okay? So we'd love to have you check us out. I brought with me today a couple of heroes of mine. I brought 2 Army Rangers. Now, to be an Army Ranger, that's a very rare thing to do. And to get 2 of them in the same building, you're accomplishing something. Because to be an Army Ranger, first of all, only 2 out of every 1,000 people that sign up for the military ever get to become an Army Ranger. It's a big deal. And this guy right here, he's one of my big heroes in life. This guy right here, Army Ranger Gary Horton, he risked his life several times so that you and I can be here today and live in freedom. We'd be somebody else's slaves if it wasn't for people like Army Ranger Gary Horton and Army Ranger Jason Ski. They have literally risked their lives. Army Ranger Gary Horton used to jump out of airplanes. Now, picture this in your mind. Used to jump out of airplanes in the middle of the night, total darkness, over enemy territory. He didn't know where he was going to land. Could land in trees, get stuck, could land in the water, could land right on top of the enemy. But see, Rangers go in first. They lead the way. And so he jumped out of airplanes several times. All he had on was a survival backpack and a weapon. That's it. They land, enemy territory, they scope it out, they call back what they need to come in and fight that enemy. Well, he was one of the blessed ones. He's here today. He's live and in person. A lot of his buddies came back in caskets. They gave all. Wow. It amazes me. Let's don't take our freedom for granted, okay? I want you all to make him feel welcome today. Army Ranger Gary Horton, right here, right now. When he got out of the military, he dedicated his life to young people because he loves young people. He loves America and he loves young people. He's been traveling for over 40 years, going around to schools and speaking. I've had him in our Camp Nathaniel representing us in 29 schools in these 2 weeks. But he's been in over 10,000 different high schools and middle schools all across the country and around the world. Been in hundreds of prisons. He doesn't charge. He does this out of love. That's why I respect him so much. So, I want you to do me 2 favors, please. No cell phones. Please put those away, okay? You don't need those right now. And please don't talk to your friends. It kind of insults him. If he sees you talking to somebody, it kind of rubs him the wrong way, and you don't want to rub a ranger the wrong way. All right, so, Brother Ranger, you speak to him from your heart, buddy.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. What an honor to be here with you guys today. Let me get some of the admin stuff out of the way. Cell phones, just cut them off. Now, I know some of you are going to try to cheat. I know that. And I'm going to ask you to do a very difficult thing. I do not want you talking, interacting with those around you. Because if I say something you're going to need in life, you may not get it because you are distracting yourself and somebody else. And you may be sitting next to somebody who lives in a war zone more than a home. And so I hope I can help you. So try to restrain the distractions. By the way, I love the red, white, and blue. Most of you can't tell me what those colors mean, but by the time I leave, you'll probably be able to do that. What a high school, what an amazing place. All right, let me get the protocol out of the way. Teachers, I'd feel better if you could sit down. I'm standing for you, so if you can sit down and be relaxed, it's my privilege to take your place for a few minutes. Seniors in the house, where are you, seniors? Y'all spread out so one grenade can't take the whole class. By the way, I didn't want to be the only senior in the house. Senior citizen, that is. That's good. Congratulations, senior. This is the last lap of the longest race in public education, 13 years, 30-some thousand hours of school. It's amazing how fast time flies when you're unconscious. You want to know our senior motto? When in doubt, sack out. No wonder we're in trouble. Now, let me mess with the 10th graders. Where are the sophomores? Let me hear from you. All right. You ought to be enthusiastic. I mean, you're at the crossroads of life. Sophomore. You say, man, don't call me a 10th grader, man. You understand? I'm a sophomore. Has a nice ring to it, but do you know what it means? It comes from two root words. Sophos, the Greek word for wise or wisdom, where you get the name Sophia. But the other one's a root word to moron. Sophomore means wise fool. And if you don't know the difference between wisdom and foolishness, it's going to be a bumpy road. By the way, they call you that, and I hope by the time you get there, you're smart enough to know how dumb you really are. Whoop, there it is. There it is. I'm glad y'all got a sense of humor. Did you know God had a sense of humor? Just look at the one sitting next to you. Trick or treat, look at this here, Marty. But don't you judge people by their looks or their color. Because you didn't pick your parents, did you? Just be glad you didn't have to grow up with this face. You think you got problems? When I was born, the doctor looked at me and smacked my mother. You claiming this? One guy said I look like a poster child for birth control. And that's funny right there. I don't care who you are. That's funny right there. But I tell you, I am proud to be here with this fine gentleman who, like myself, cares about this country's future, and you happen to be that. And my ranger buddy over here who has been to hell and back so many times he could do it blindfolded. We have seen the real world, young people, up close. And so if I can get you to listen, some of you won't be able to do that. It's just like they tell you, do not text on a cell phone while you're driving. They tell you that. Some of you will ignore that because you think you're so important that every time the phone rings, it's got to be the call of your life, and you cannot resist that cell phone, and you're going to pay for it. You're going to kill somebody. By the way, you lost a coach that some of you know. Brian Justice. Just a few yards from where you sit this Monday, lost his life. You see, if you're not ready to face eternity, life can bite you at the wrong time. I had the honor in 2004, once I got out of active duty, I took a team to Afghanistan because I wanted to say thank you up close to all of those men and women who are leaving their families, their jobs, their friends, their life. I was at Shanksville, Pennsylvania not long after 9/11. I walked up to a flag that they were holding. Hundreds of people were holding this large flag, and it covered most of the size of this gym. The man was lecturing at the top of the flag, and it had written on there, dedicated to the heroes of Flight 93, September 11, 2001. And I walked up a little late, so I was at the bottom corner of the flag, and I just held it with the rest of these people. Then the man said, I need military types to help me fold that flag. Well, because of where I stood, it ended up in my hands. It had a lot more than 13 folds. But I looked at the gentleman who was leading the dedication, and I said, sir, may I give the folds of the flag at a funeral? He goes, the what? That's what most Americans have never heard, that when you're honoring somebody who gave up all of their tomorrows for every today you and I take for granted, and you fold that flag, every fold says something about significance, about what America used to believe. I'm not sure we know what we believe anymore. But when I gave the folds of the flag that day, people mobbed me and said, where'd you get that? We've never heard that. I said, welcome to a nation that no longer teaches you the significant things that you need to know. Does this school do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Yeah.
Every day?
Yes, sir.
Whoa, you stand up next to your classmates and say those noble words. I pledge, what's another word for allegiance?
Honor.
Loyalty. You talk the cloth and color and you salute that flag in the name of loyalty. What does that mean? Good homework assignment. Write down what loyalty means to you when it comes to pledging to a flag. Years ago, I was in Oklahoma, and I had a 6th grader come up to me in that school, and he said, Mister, we don't pledge in my school, but I do it every morning. I said, every morning? Yes, sir. When my feet hit the floor, I stand up, and I got my granddaddy's flag on my wall, and I got his picture, and I knew what my granddaddy went through for that flag. And I put my hand over my heart, and I say, Grandpa, I miss and love you. Now I'm going to pledge to your flag. And he puts his hand over his heart, and he pledges allegiance every morning by himself. I was so impressed with this kid, man. I had to talk about him later that day when I did the high school, and told him, you're talking about motivation. You're talking about a kid that can relate to something most of us ignore. I got a letter a few weeks later that said both schools are now doing the Pledge of Allegiance in honor of that 6th grader. You see, when you start doing things that has significance and it relates to your heart, your priorities, what you really believe, it becomes contagious. Every righteous thing you choose to do in life will bless everyone around you. And every rotten thing you're a part of, the things you do that have no meaning, no purpose, then you're a curse to people around you. I grew up in Indiana. Oh, by the way, I now live in L.A., that's lower Alabama. I may even have a cousin or two in this school. See, there's not a lot of difference between the culture of Alabama and Kentucky. Anybody here ever cut your grass and find a car? Does half the cars your family owns don't run? Hey, cuz. Can they hear your car before they see it? Has your mother ever been in a fist fight at a football game and won? I don't know about y'all, but I'll never be the man my mama was, boy. You didn't mess with my mama. This woman was tougher than woodpecker lips. You know what I'm saying? Does your mother own a homemade fur coat? You love your pets? Recycle them. Does the TV that you have at home that works sitting on a TV that don't work? Come on now. That's the best view you ever had, man. You just stack them on up. Has your family ever been asked to leave the zoo for harassing the monkeys? I don't know if I'd swear into that one. And don't tell us to say no to crack. We just pull up our overalls. It'll sneak up on some of you about lunchtime, but anyway. What a phenomenal honor. I want to thank the guys that came in here representing the ROTC program and helped put this gymnasium together, and I appreciate what they did. If you knew what I knew about life, guys, you would be a part of this ROTC. No, don't look around. Oh, I know some of you take cheap shots about the guys and girls around here that put on that uniform. You ought to be glad they're in your school, because you know what they're doing? They are preparing themselves. Excuse me. They're preparing themselves to put their life on the line, and they're going to be a part of that minute minority of Americans who are ready to die for freedom. You want to know what percentage of Americans right now wear a uniform, whether they be in the military, whether they be firefighters, or police officers? You want what percentage in this country? 1%. 1% of the people in this country right now have a sense of destiny and responsibility to prepare themselves to defend. And if only 1% is paying the price, where's the 99% that sits back in the shadows of life and you rarely ever do anything to make a difference, not just make a living? Yes. Yeah, I love that sixth grader. I was in a high school in Ohio many years ago. And when I finished speaking, the teacher walked up, shook my hand. He said, "Man, I don't know how you got here, but we needed everything you just said." He said, "I really appreciate the program, man." He turned to walk away, but he looked back and said, "You got a few minutes? Can I show you why I'm a teacher?" I cherished that morning. I walked into his classroom, and in the corner was a bulletin board. And on that bulletin board were the faces of everybody in his life he never wanted to forget. He had the words at the top, "My Hall of Fame." He said, "Let me show you my heroes." He said, "See that good-looking man in uniform? That was my grandfather who died with Patton's Third Army in World War II at a place called Bastogne. There's my uncle. He got the Medal of Honor at his funeral because he was in the Korean War when the enemy grenade hit the foxhole. He knew the rest of the guys were going to die, so he threw himself on that grenade in order to spare his buddies for another day." He said, "See that lady there? We didn't like her. She was the toughest teacher in our school. She could make you learn when you didn't want to. You know, we never really appreciated her." This big guy here was my football coach, and he said, "Football is a game, but those who never quit here never lose." You know what I was looking at? The essence of this man's life. The part that most people never see. And as I looked at all those faces and little writings he had there, and I looked down, I finally found a picture of the teacher standing with a handful of guys with green berets and jungle fatigues in Vietnam. And in that picture, he circled some of the faces of those guys. And I pointed down and I said, "Tell me about these guys." The look that came over his face when he stood there, stared and swallowed and said, "They were my buddies who came back in a box." I look at them every morning before the students get to class. They're my gut check, because if I don't keep their memory alive, what in the world am I doing here? I would hope that some of you would put a picture of somebody in your family tree who put on that uniform and later gave their life. You need to look at that, because every day you and I have is based on the courtesy and the grace and the courage of all those who gave up all of their tomorrows for every today you and I have left. So you learn to live with the source of your freedom. I don't greet people like everybody else. I just look at them and say, may the source be with you. Because that's what's valuable. That's what counts. By the way, on that bulletin board where I was with that teacher that day, I read something that kicked me. I said, man, that's strong, man. That ought to be up in every school in this country. Would you like to see tomorrow before he gets here? Let me give it to you. It's called The Man in the Glass. When you get what you want in the struggle for self and this world makes you king for a day, go to the mirror and look at yourself. See what that guy has to say. It's not your father, your mother, your wife whose judgment upon your past. The verdict that counts the most in the world is the one coming back from the glass. The world may say you're a straight shooting chum and they'll call you a wonderful guy. But the one in the mirror says you're a bum because you won't look me in the eye. He's the one you face. Forget the rest. He's with you to the end. And you pass your most dangerous, difficult test if the one in the glass is your friend. You can fool the world down the pathway of years, get pats on the back as you pass. But your final reward will be sorrow and tears because you cheated the one in the glass. One of the toughest things you'll ever do growing up is facing yourself. And take off your mask. And don't try to be somebody you're not. Just be the best you could be. And you will be a part of the answer. Let me give you a little test. Say this inside as I give it to you. And see how it fits. You ready? If every American was just like me, what kind of America will America be? Your generation represents 1/3 of the population of America and 100% of the future. You are all we have left. And I don't have to tell you, America is not united. We're divided right down the middle. Half of this country right now never even stops to think about what they're doing to divide us. Because there's an old saying, divided we what? We fall. United we what? We stand. That's what life starts to become. Please don't comment. Oh, I know you think I don't know what's going on there. You think I don't know who I'm looking at. Listen, I'm not talking to everybody here. Some of you, this will go right over your head. But I'm here without any cost. Of the thousands of schools that I've been in, I never charge. I tell them my heart is out, not my hand. You can't buy me, you can't sell me. And only on occasions can you shut me up. I want to be the voice of yesterday and part of the voice of tomorrow. You teachers are the most valuable assets in this country. If our future is wrapped up in the youth and you walk in here every day to teach, to challenge, to give motivation. By the way, every teacher is a monument to those in their past. A teacher, a coach, or somebody that gave you more than just academics. They encouraged you. They became like a friend. So every teacher is an extension of another person of the past, or 2 or 3 others. Because when you choose to be a teacher, you are a memorial to the ones that taught you, encouraged you, and cared about how you lived. Let me tell you what you are, teachers. You're a bridge builder. An old man traveled down a lone highway, came to an evening cold and gray. Before him was a river deep and wide, to which was flowing a dangerous tide. But the old man crossed in the twilight dim. The river held no fear for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and began building a bridge to span the tide. Old man cried a stranger near. Why are you building this bridge? You may never again pass this way. You crossed the river deep and wide. Why build this bridge at eventide? The builder lifted his old gray head. On the road I've come, he said, there follows after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This river, which was nothing to me, to this young life could be a tragedy. You see, he too must cross in the twilight dim. That's why I'm building a bridge for him. People who build bridges are the champions of life. I want to give you an outline. Tell me what I'm spelling. Attitude, motivation, enthusiasm, respect, integrity, courage, or ambition or aspiration. What does that spell? America, thank you. This is the America according to you and me. And I want you, every time you see the word America now, I want you to go through that outline. Attitude, motivation, enthusiasm. What was the R? Respect. By the way, if you don't develop a healthy self-image, if you don't even decide that no matter what are your assets or your liabilities, but you decide to develop self-respect, because that's contagious. If you hate yourself, you ain't going to have friends. If you're mad at this world, stay away from your little brothers and sisters. They got enough problems in life. But let me talk about attitude. Attitude is your whole life. You're not what you think you are, but you are what you think. You better be selective what you put up here. It's not going to give you what you want. It's going to give you what you give it. And oh yeah, guys, you have technology now. You don't even have to hide to watch the porno and the perversion and the sick stuff. You know what that's going to turn you into? A monster. It's going to destroy your marriage. I don't know why that's funny. You're going to molest little kids, aren't you? Oh, by the way, you might even walk in here and start killing your classmates. You know where that comes from? Violent video games. You call that entertainment? You keep putting that garbage inside your head, and one day it demands expression, and somebody else has to suffer because you haven't got enough sense to say, there's certain things in this world I cannot afford to put in my head. They backfire. Remember that old adage, what we sow, we what? We what? Reap. Yeah, what you sow, you reap. But what you reap, you're going to have to eat. And if life tastes bad, guess who's cooking? I didn't know what I was doing growing up. You think I understood all this? I was 12 years old when I had an experience that almost destroyed my future. I grew up in Indiana, and I had one of my best buddies who lived near me, and we were buddies because we both stuttered terribly, and kids would make fun of us because we couldn't get our words out. You don't have any idea what I had to go through to learn to talk without spitting. My buddy, he stuttered as bad as I did, and so we bonded together, and I'm playing ball one day at a parking lot near where I live, and I hit the ball over his head, and it rolled up by the church, and when he ran to get the ball, the preacher came out. And he said some things to my friend that no young man should ever have to hear. He chased him off, called him names. When he came back to me, I couldn't hear the conversation, but I looked at him and I said, Russell, what did that man say? He looked at me and said, he told me not to come around church because I'm black. He said, what? You know what that did to me? That gutless, bigoted coward had the gall to cut down my friend because of his skin when none of us chose our color. It never even dawned on me that his color was an issue in my life. He was my friend. I could trust this guy. But what that preacher said, I learned to hate like you have no idea. I began to say, oh yeah, that's a game. That's what he's doing. He's got the good book out there on Sunday, whatever, and he's got everybody fooled. But now I see you with your mask off. Yeah, I know what you are. And I became a cynic for the next few years. You know what a cynic is? It's a kid that goes around tearing everybody down because they can't face themselves. If it had been a youth camp with some people who were real and who put up with my sorry attitude and helped me to see who I really was, I wouldn't be here today. But I'm telling you, young people, when you react to life, you make it worse. If you respond because you have enough objectivity, you have enough sense not to judge, not to malign, not to try to figure everybody out. But you can, when you respond to life, you can change any problem you have and recycle it, make it your power instead of your problem. But when you react, you multiply the problem in your life. Are you wise enough, young men, young ladies, to honestly believe that the majority of your suffering is going to be more about what you're going to do to yourself and all the people you blame? Sitting here right now, some of you are becoming your best friend, and some of you are dedicated to your own destruction because you're not thinking outside the box, or whatever you call When you respond, you can step back and say, there's a purpose for this. How I can learn from this. Have you ever been tested? Huh? By the way, do you think this world is fair? Do you think life is fair? Life sometimes is the cruelest thing in the world. I'll never forget that kid that I met years ago when I was going to this school outside of Beaumont, Texas, and the guy that took me there played football for a coach who later became the NFL coach with the Houston Oilers and retired with the New Orleans Saints. His name was Bum Phillips. About 6'6", weighed about 220. And one day there was an argument that broke out in the hall between two football players, and it started in the classroom when the teacher stood up and said, I think it's only time we tell you that we don't cheer for you just because you run up and down a football field. And she's pointing at the so-called star running back, a real prima donna. She said, I look at your grades, I look at your attitude, and you better be glad I'm not your coach. You wouldn't be playing for this school. Well, you know, you get put down in front of your peers, that's kind of heavy. Well, when he got out of the class, he couldn't wait to cut this lady back down. And he didn't spare the language. But the other guy said, wait a minute. I agree with what she gave you. And I warned you one time, a long time ago, you didn't hear me either. You keep cutting that lady down, he said, I'll drop you like a bad habit. And it looked like it was moving into Fifth City when the coach came out. He heard the conversation. He heard these two guys. He knew they were his football player. He came out and grabbed this kid and he said, you get to my office now, I'm going to give you what your daddy should have given you. By the way, his office was down the hall of the main high school, and when he got that board education going, it was a paddle about that long, had holes in it. They said, what's with the holes? That's to cut through all the bureaucracy us teachers got to mess with. And when he got that paddle going, it echoed through the halls of the whole school, and the whole school would temporarily just sit there and, He hit this kid 10 times so loud the whole school could hear it. And when he was through, he said, football's a game, but discipline in a classroom, respect for a teacher, that's your life, son, and if you haven't learned it now, you never will. And if your dad's got a problem with this, tell him to come to see me. He whacked him 10 times. You know, it never came up again until 20 years later. No lawsuit, no scandal, no big deal. 20 years later, they asked Coach Bum Phillips to come back for the 20-year reunion banquet, and he came back, and the guys were talking to him about the NFL and what's it like in the big game and all these things. And one guy said, you know, Coach, I'd like to ask you a question. You remember 20 years ago, the guy you whacked with that paddle? He said, yeah, I remember that. Did you ever find out you whipped the wrong guy? He said, what? You didn't get the troublemaker. You grabbed his friend who defended the teacher. He said, 20 years? How come I had to wait this long to hear this? He said, we'd have told you. But the guy you whacked on that day stayed in the locker room with us till you left and told us he never wanted you to know. He made his promise never to tell you. Have you ever had a gut check like that? Huh? You ever find out how cruel and unfair life can be? And he was a little embarrassed at this point. And he said, are you here? The guy stepped forward and said, I'm right here, Coach. Found out he did 2 tours with the Marine Corps in Vietnam. He said, son, when I was whacking on you, why didn't you talk to him? Why didn't you tell me I was hitting the wrong kid? He said, Coach, you don't remember this, but you weren't in the talking mood at that time. But he said, when I look back at it, Coach, you want to know what I think about that? That's one of the best things you ever gave me in high school. You know what I learned that day? If I could take it when I don't deserve it, I could take it when I do. He said, my only regret, I wish you'd have given me more of that to the other guys on the team because they'd be better off in life. Can you understand that whole scenario? You either react or respond. He responded with courage and conviction, and he didn't make it his agenda. He just realized life's not fair. You roll with the punches, you can survive. Yeah, you're up there still talking as if I'm just invisible here. That's all right. But you who are listening, you're going to make my day. I've never left my dear wife of 53 years without tears in her eyes. But she tells me, go. Tell those kids how valuable they are to us. Go. You want to know what love is? It doesn't have anything to do with emotions or lust. It has to do with your soul. You love somebody more than you love yourself? That's your best friend. Well, mental attitude's everything. It's everything. The M is motivation. Are you motivated? When's the last time you kicked yourself when you needed it? Huh? Are you tough on you? By the way, if you're tough on you, nobody will mess with you. You be your toughest coach. And in this world, you're going to be a champion. You're motivated. Let's go look at your room. Look like a grenade went off in there. You throw your stuff on the floor. You don't even make your bed when you get up in the morning. Well, I ran into the ultimate of a kid up in North Carolina many years ago who broke the running back record for the high school. They wanted to interview this kid because the colleges wanted to recruit this kind of a warrior. So they sent the media to his house to do an interview, and they walked into his room, and they were shocked. It's a senior in high school. The room looked like he didn't even live there. It was immaculate. It was clean, nothing on the floor, everything in the right place. The bed was made. And he goes, boy, your mama works hard around here. He said, that's true, but the room is my responsibility. You mean you keep it like this? Yes, sir. Why? It's a way of saying I love you, Mom, without using words. They saw a sign on the wall that said drugs and alcohol belong to the chumps, but never the champs of life. And he goes, man, you don't go out there on the weekend and booze it up with your jock buddies? He said, no, sir, that's not me. Saw a sign on the other wall over there that says, true love waits. One guy said, you're not a bad-looking dude, man. You don't go out there and bird dogging girls and see how far you can mess with them? He said, no, sir, that's not me either. One guy looked at him and said, son, what about peer pressure? He looked back and said, mister, I am peer pressure. You realize you are too? Every one of you are peer pressure. It's either positive or negative. What will people write in your yearbook when it's all said and done? Oh man, remember those parties we had? Remember that time, man, we really wigged out and had a good time, huh? Is anybody going to write and say, I watched you as a student. I didn't have a lot of self-respect, but you befriended me. You even helped me when a bully was taking cheap shots. By the way, every school has got bullies. You know what they are? They're insecure kids. They got this crazy philosophy that says if I can tear you down, that builds me up. If I can make you look bad, that makes me look better. You know how many kids are killing themselves in this country because of bullies? Oh yeah, now you can do it without even facing them. Just get that little cell phone up there and just call them everything, cut them down because you're jealous and you're insecure. Well, it all comes back someday, gang. It'll all come back. You want to change America? Go home and be the hero of your little brothers and sisters. That's the college of parents. How you treat your little brothers and sisters is a good way of telling what kind of a mom and dad you're going to be one day. You know what divorce is doing to this country? We can't even define marriage in this country. What does that say? And a nation is no stronger, young people, than the family. The family is no stronger than marriage. And you're living in a country where they not only tell you marriage really doesn't amount to a whole lot, and half of you don't even know what bathroom you're supposed to use. I mean, are you carrying enough stuff in this world to drag you down, to make you double-minded? Because double-minded people are unstable. That's called motivation. E is enthusiasm. It's the greatest power source on earth. But I'd like to come back to that. Let me talk about R, respect. If you respect yourself, if you have some kind of a self-esteem going on, and you believe in who you are, and you're trying to be the best you could be, you know what that means? You're going to be a leader one day. You're going to be a leader. You're going to be a part of the answer instead of part of the problem. Young people, find out what nutrition means and start feeding your body by what it needs, not what you like to eat. I go to Kmart all the time now, and I see these people who have to ride around in these little carts. Half of them can't even walk. Why? They have devoured things that have nothing to do with nutrition, and now their body has to store it because they can't burn it. Be wise. Be wise. I hate to touch this subject. I'm not here to offend you. I know exactly what I'm saying, and I care about you because you're my nation's future. You're the only way I can hug America up close, by telling you the things that I wish somebody would have told me. If you have respect for yourself, it's contagious. How are you going to respect others if you hate yourself? And stop trying to be what you're not. Take the mask off and be who you really are. Because there's people around here who need you. The eye of integrity. I live in a nation that can't even define morality. Is anything right or wrong as long as you can get away with it? What's that? Finders, keepers, losers, weepers. Didn't you hear that as a young kid? What does that mean? It's a code of the criminal. I've been in so many prisons, you wouldn't believe it. And some of them will come up to me and say, oh man, I don't belong here. I got a bad deal. I had a bad lawyer. I said, let's do something. Let's drag out everything you ever did to break the law. I mean, let's drag out all the stuff nobody's ever brought to you. Now, you going to tell me you got a raw deal? If the judge has access to all of your activity, all your low living, your lousy priorities, you better be glad all the truth is not there. You'd never be able to get out of this place. Why is it we have the greatest nation on planet Earth and the biggest prison system known to any country? Why? Because there's always those who grow up thinking, I'm going to take a shortcut. I think I can get rich by making somebody poor. I get pleasure out of making somebody miserable. Is that your agenda? You need to stay away from the human race. We got enough problems. We don't need that. And if you have an honor code, that kid who took those whacks, what did he have? Character. He turned it into his power. He made it his friend, not his foe. And you can do the same. I don't care how rotten you may think your family is or how cruel your life is, and some of you are going through some stuff. I know it's not easy. But if you develop a backbone instead of a wishbone, I'm here to tell you something. You're going to one day make a difference in a lot of lives because we need people like you. We need people who can define moral strength and who live by an honor code, not the one you heard, the one you live by. And the C is courage. What is courage? It's conviction. See, we may hold opinions about many things, but your convictions will hold you. Tell me what you died for. April 9, 1969, Aisha Valley, the movie Hamburger Hill, the 101st Airborne at Aisha Valley in Vietnam, and a young lieutenant, Army Ranger, was wounded so bad that he reached in his pocket with a bloodstained notebook, gave it to the medic, and he said, get this to my parents at home. He wrote his own funeral, young people. Most of us do. When the letter got to his father, he read it. He said, if I die during my tour in Vietnam, I want my family to read and understand I came here by choice. I joined this army by choice. I chose to be an infantry officer. It was my destiny being a soldier, right or wrong. It's the job that must be done. It's the job I do best. Americans forget what our flag stands for, but he says, I'm a patriot. I believe in this country. I believe in our system of government. I think it's worth fighting for, and if need be, dying for. The country we have today was not built by the weak and the unbelieving, but by the blood of those who felt they had something worth fighting for. And I think it is the right the duty and the privilege of every American to defend America's freedom. It has to be that way. And I thank God there's still people left who believe. He even mentioned the people in the streets who protest this country and have the right to protest can do so because men believed enough in it to die for it. He said there's Americans with dreams and ideals I feel worth fighting for. This is what I believe. If I die, my life bought something. It wasn't wasted. And I believe that I wouldn't be here. And then he closed the letter and he said, I'm a believer, I'm a dreamer, I'm a patriot, but most of all, I'm a professional soldier in the United States Army, from the bottom of my boot to the top of my steel pot. And I feel proud and honored to serve my country and with those who believe. My life was not wasted. Your loving son, Bruce. Years ago, I spoke at his high school in North Dallas, Texas. The father showed up, and when I asked him to stand during the assembly, the students gave him phenomenal respect. He grabbed me before I left that day, and he said, meet me in the parking lot. I want to give you something. So I waited for him, and when he drove his vehicle up near mine, he got out of his car. He had a box in his hands, and he came over and gave it to me. He said, this is my most valuable possession right now. I don't want anybody else to know, including my family, that I'm giving this to you. But thank you for being the memorial that every dad wishes somebody would give his son who died for freedom. And he drove off, and I opened that box, and there was all of his medals. There was all the story of him in high school. It was just part of his story, his life in Texas A&M. All these issues were there, and he said, I want you to have that, because you kept his memory alive like no one else. Are you ever going to be a memorial to somebody? Huh? Anyone going to come to your funeral? By the way, young people, please listen. More young people your age commit suicide in this country now, more every day than the whole year I got out of high school. That's your way of saying thank you for America, thank you to the heroes, thank you for these teachers, thank you for your parents who sometimes have to really bust their priorities in order to take care of you and spoil you. That's your way of saying thank you to everybody? Look, if you're not ready to face life on this side, you don't want to cross over, because eternity is a miserable way of living that never ends. Well, the last A is ambition or aspiration. Can you tell me right now where you plan to be in 10 years? By the way, if you don't know where you're going, don't take anybody with you. If you aim at nothing, it's easy to hit. And if I had the power, I'd take every one of you young men out of high school. I'd put you in the United States military, or I'd train you to be a firefighter or a police officer. I'd make you so tough that nobody in the world would mess with you, and you could stand up and defend this country. People who want to kill you, you can still stand up and be professional. And I'm hoping that a bunch of you ROTC guys will dare to seek to be an Army Ranger. You'll be able to face anything on this planet. Our job was to go anywhere on planet Earth within a 24-hour period and take out the trash. And we did it, and we loved it. I'm proud of you ROTC students. But guys, you going to give anything back? Think of this country gave you everything, and now you got nothing to give back? You want to just make money? Rich people are just poor people with money in many ways. See, it's not what you own that makes you rich. It's what you can't lose. What do you have right now that you can never lose? It's your soul. Eternity is written in all of us. And when I took that team to Afghanistan in 2004, I went over there not as a soldier. I went over there as a minister, and I shared with these guys. And I wanted them to remember something. Thousands died for our freedom, but only one died for our soul. You want to talk about the E in America that I've passed up? Enthusiasm comes from the entheos. En means inside, and the Greek word for God is theos. I'm not talking religion. Religion is another con game. That's why there's so many of them. I'm talking about a relationship. I'm going to tell you who my hero really is. You talk about a man born with no sin. See, he didn't have a father. The curse is passed to the male, not the female. He was virgin conceived and virgin born because he was the Son of God. His righteousness was perfect. And he went 33 years and the world hated him without a reason. And he chose to be the sin bearer of the world. That's what his mission was, to take the sins of the world. When they beat his back off, which should have killed him, nail him to a tree that he created. And I love the cross because it's trying to say, until you get this straight, you're not going to be able to deal with the problems here. If you do not know the one that gave you your first breath, yeah, your mother gave you birth, but God gave you life. Physical. But you're a mental, physical, social, and yet a spiritual being. And if you've never gone back and trusted the one that gave you the physical life you have, how are you going to inherit eternal life? Because that's what he offers. Why do you think it was midnight at noon on a hill called the Skull? Because all of a sudden it became midnight and no one could see him, but he was screaming for 3 hours and he thought about you and me. And God was doing a difficult thing. God was pouring the sins of the world out on his perfect righteous Son. And why? He had to turn his back. He couldn't look because I showed up, a sinner. But at 3 p.m. he looked up and said, Tetelestai. They say it means it's finished. It means more than that. The sin debt has just been canceled. Do you realize sitting here right now, your sins have been paid for. You're not going to be judged for sin. You're going to be judged on the basis, what did you do with him? Did you trust him? Did you believe in him? What's our natural motto? In God we what? Trust. It's amazing. You can curse the name of Christ. You can curse the name of God. And nobody wants to sue you. But you stand up and do the things that some of us here today are doing. They want to put me in jail. They want to sue me because they say, you can't do that. Oh, I wonder why in America they're trying to outlaw the message of life. Well, guess who rules this planet? Satan himself. And he doesn't want you to hear this. But I'm here to tell you, I got good news for you. Your sins are paid for. All you have to do is accept the gift. It says, for by grace you're saved through faith. It's not of ourselves, it's a gift. It's not by works, lest anyone brag. It's a gift, but it must be received. Have you ever received that gift? Do you realize you're sitting here right now? You don't have to get up and do anything. You don't have to say anything. Just sitting here right now. If you're not ready to die, then my friend, you're not ready to live. If you do not know the one who created you, everything about you, and can count the hairs of your head, young people, if you don't know him, I pity you. Because eternity is a terribly long time to be wrong. And by the way, please don't talk, girls. That's your teachers. No, I'm not a preacher. I don't even like the word. I'm a voice crying in the wilderness. Because you are the most valuable thing. Not just in America, but in my life. And in my buddy's life. And my ranger buddy's life. Why do you think we go to hell for a heavenly reason? Because someone has to pay the price there, lest they come to your house. Thousands died for your freedom, but only one died for your soul. If you do not know that man, my friend, you're really not alive. And you're going to face some things in this world, and when you have his presence in your life, not only do you have the best of the best, you never quit. You never give up. And by the way, it's a wonderful thing to know that when you trust him, part of the package is a guardian angel. And that's a bad-to-the-bone angel that looks out for you 24/7. Why would you go to a battle zone without having a warrior behind you every day? But more than that, you have the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. And if you're going to live in heaven, you might as well get ready for it now. I want my grandson, I carry his picture with me, He lives in my home. I want him to give you the colors of the flag. Your parents don't know it. And if I ever come back, I want to give you the 13 folds of the flag. You want to see significance? Fold number 1, human life. What does that say about us? Fold number 2, eternal life. And fold number 12 stands for eternity. You see the stars in the sky, the blue? Stands for eternity. And those who can face eternity can face anything this world throws at you. But if you're not ready to die, young people, you're not ready to live. And when he bore the sins, your sins and my sins, they put him in a rich man's grave. And when Joseph of Arimathea went and asked for the body, they said, why do you want this criminal's body? He said, oy vey, it's only for the weekend. You believe this man walked out of his grave 3 days later? He walked through the stone. And he said, I am the resurrection and I am the life, and whoever calls upon me in faith, whoever believes in me, shall never, ever die. See, I'm in the last few days of my life. But I'm not going to die. I'm just going to get rid of this old body. And after all these years, I'm about worn out. I can hardly walk. But I can get to you because you are worth it all. You are more valuable than you'll have any idea. And the fact that you sit and listen to me, whether you agree or disagree, that's not the issue. But if you listen to what I told you, and you ask for that gift, and you believe that he died, was buried, rose again the third day, if you accept that gift, you will never die. And you'll never be alone. He said, he promised, I'll never leave you or forsake you. So I'm never alone. I can't wait to meet him. I know who he is. He's still got scars on his face, his hands, his back, his feet. Your king had gone to hell for you. But if you accept him, you want to make him smile today? Just simply pray. God, I believe Christ is my Savior. He paid for me. I give him my life because he bought it. And now I want to live with him inside of me, and I want to do what he was doing when he was here. What was he doing? He was taking the chains off of people who are slaves. He offers you freedom like you've never seen it. I'm going to spend eternity with him. But see, my grandson was the only kid in his school that knew what the red, white, and blue. So I'll give it to you. As I walk from the front door to the bus stop with him many times, and I go, Shane, let's talk about the flag. What's the red? He said, Grandpa, the red is righteousness. Excuse me. The red is courage and valor. I said, what's courage and valor? He said, people who stand strong in a storm. People that don't bend, don't bow, and they don't run when everyone else does. He said, people who have convictions. I taught him. Shane was talking about the blue. The blue in the flag is justice and honor. Do you live a just life? You have an honor code you follow? Is there certain things in this world you'd never do because you know it goes against the divine standards of freedom? I say, Shane, tell me about the white. He smiles and says, the white is God's best deal. I said, what do you mean? Well, you know, Grandpa, to get to heaven, you got to be perfect. And we got a problem with that. But it's a gift. And when God allowed his son to be sacrificed, he paid for your debt and your sin. And if you believe in him, he swaps with you. He gives you his righteousness as he takes away your sin and your condemnation. I love Romans 8 in the Bible. It starts out with no condemnation and it ends with no separation. For God, the greatest initiator, so loved the greatest compassion, the world, the greatest number, that he gave the greatest act. His uniquely born son, the greatest gift, that whosoever, the greatest invitation, believes the greatest simplicity, in him the greatest person shall never perish, the greatest deliverer, but the greatest contrast, have the greatest certainty, everlasting life, the greatest possession. You can have it by asking for it. And I thank you for listening to me. By the way, my grandson spoke to you from eternity. A man just a few years ago knocked on our door and told us we had lost our grandson. He was with his dad. The tire blew. The car rolled. And we have a hole in our heart between my wife and my daughter and me. Because he left it because he was such an amazing kid. I know all grandparents say that, but I'm telling you, this kid was not just normal. He had a sense of destiny. He talked about heaven all the time. Well, now he's there. And I can't bring him back, but I'm going to go where he is, and I'm going to be with him forever and ever. See the security we have in him? Some things never change because it comes from him. Yeah. I talk to him every day because I loved him with all my life. My website is youthontrack.org. Youthontrack.org. I dare you to get in touch with me. I dare you to write me and tell me what you think about what I said today, because I can't meet all of you. But I will tell you that my ranger buddy has already got coins. I wanted to bring a coin for every one of you who will take it. You don't have to take it, but that coin is a memorial that I wrote across, and together we have been here talking about what does it mean to be an American by choice, not just by birth. I hope you'll take one. I thank you, teachers. I thank the administration for giving me this kind of freedom to bear my soul with you. And I thank Almighty God that when I sing God Bless America, I pray He can do that through me and through you. Thank you very much. I'm gone.